Today I'll talk about the lyrics from the last song, Locomotive Breath from Jethro Tull, which has several different interpretations, and you can say that they are conflicting, but they can also reach the same conclusion. One of the possible veins for interpreting this song is its Catholic branch. There are lots of Christian terms in the song, and there are lots of references in the album to the English Catholic Church. And in spite of being raised in a Christian family, in a Christian country, I didn't get these analogies in the song, even because it's an English band and I'm from Brazil. So here the terms might have been translated in a different way, and I'm out of touch with Christianity in a long time. So I came up with my own interpretation, which didn't have anything to do with those terms and didn't have a deep Catholic dive into it. Only after reaching my interpretation, my conclusion, after the clip was already done, I've made a research about the lyrics meaning, and I'm gonna talk about all this process. I first heard this song when I bought this little guy right here, the album Aqualung, where I think it's the first time that the song was recorded. And at that time I didn't speak English, so I had a very musical interpretation of it, because the song was made to seem like you are listening to a constant rhythm, which is an allusion to the locomotive breath, which is constant. So this song always transported me immediately to the scenery of a countryside railroad, and with lots of orange tones, lots of brown tones, and I saw a little bit of country in the song. So to me, before I learned English, before I read the lyrics of the song, I had this image in my mind and this vibe. So this is what guided my interpretation of the song, which was basically more literal, because I was already attached to the literal side of the song. To me, the song was just about a man that was aboard a locomotive that had its handle removed so it couldn't stop, and it was hot because he was in the engine room trying to find the handle or whatever, and maybe his children came off the train before the events of the chorus, which made the train unstoppable, but maybe he made them jump after he received the information that the train wasn't gonna stop ever, so he just waited for a safe place for them to jump off, and then he saw his wife cheating on him with his best friend. I figured he would have listened to them in his room and then crawled in the corridor to get them by surprise. Then the last part was a bit fuzzy, I don't really remember my interpretation, but after recording the audio, I've researched the song a little bit, and it changed my interpretation and helped me guide the interpretation for the clip. So what I gathered was, catching angels as they fall might mean, according to a Christian interpretation, that he was strengthening himself. Then the character who was the all-time loser until this point of the song, until the third verse, became the all-time winner. And before that, the all-time winner was his best friend, his wife's lover. So he literally grabbed him by the balls. And at that time, I've interpreted that he grabbed Gideon's Bible to throw at his wife's lover, or that in the middle of the fight, his hand passed through the Bible and accidentally it fell on the ground, opening at page 1, which had something to do with the song. I'll talk about it later. And in the end of it, it's possible to conclude through this interpretation that he is actually Old Charlie, and he took the handle out to avenge himself, to punish his best friend. And the theme song of the album, Aqualung, is about a dysfunctional man, a troubled man, which would corroborate with this interpretation. So that's my personal interpretation of the song, and that's the one I used to create the atmosphere for the clip. Even before I started researching the lyrics, I thought that the song would have a more religious meaning behind it, because the whole album has something about Christianity. But in an interview with Ian Anderson, the composer of the song and Jethro Tull's singer, he presented another meaning. He said in an old interview that the song is about death, and it's clear from the beginning of the song. But in a more recent interview, he said that this song is about the unstoppable population growth and the uncontrolled use of natural resources. And the album was released in '71 when the world population was about 3.7 billion and today is about 7.9. Those two issues were the main topics for the latest UN report, which stated that in 80 years, if we continue to exploit the planet's resources and in this population growth rate, we will be extinct in 80 years. So it's something really, really important to talk about. Anyways, so the point is, in this interpretation, the author's interpretation, the locomotive breath would be the constant beat of the society that demands a certain pace from us, that demands that we do everything right, that we manage all the areas in our lives in spite of the amount of work we always have to do, and we are always running. We are running out of time. I'm running out of time to record this video. And I dare say that in his interpretation, maybe old Charlie could be Charles Darwin. Since the first page of Gideon's Bible talks about Genesis, it could be a reference to that debate between science and religion about how the human race started and the evolution of the species. So when he stole the handle, it could be a reference to a shift in paradigm, which also had as one of the consequences the advance of medicine and notions of hygiene, which made the mortality rates drop very significantly. And then the demographic pyramid changed and the unstoppable population growth started. And one of the reasons that it kept being unstoppable is that Christian churches always incentive people to have more and more children. And it can also refer to the modern work, to the rhythm of society or locomotive breath, that we try to catch up, but only the fittest survive. We have to know how to fit in and do everything in a way that will benefit us. So the journey of the all-time loser represents the common citizen, the masses, because they have a rhythm that is lower than the one that the locomotive demands from them, which is surreal, having to juggle all the aspects of life, getting more and more stressed each day, going in a downward spiral until we die. Of course, this interpretation is too subjective to deduce, and I don't suppose that he thought that we would guess exactly that. I think that he would want us to get the gist of the song, the part of the social critics. It would be important for us to understand that he's talking about society and try to make a few connections and with the frantic rhythm of society, or maybe not even that, maybe just what is the point of, but even if we don't take this social critic analysis, because it's a big if, his interpretation is too specific to guess like that. I mean, it could have been anything else, if we are to extrapolate that much. So when composing a song like that, I believe that the author cannot demand that everybody understands him exactly as he puts. If he's so subjective, I think that he wants us to find our own path in the song. I think that he wants us to have this margin of interpretation and we can grasp a different meaning to the song, not exactly what he has to say to us. Now, diving a little bit more into the Catholic references in the song, "Oh Charlie" could be an euphemism for the devil, but it could also be God. But I'll take the devil interpretation, which would lead to the interpretation that the song is about the story of Genesis, the fall of Satan, and the origin of sex. And God could be the all-time winner and the devil the all-time loser. I also read somewhere that locomotive breath can be a term used to refer to the crucifixion of Jesus. There are lots of different Christian interpretations for this song. And I'm not an expert in this part, so that's as far as I can go. So these are the main interpretations of the song. There are basically those three layers, alright? Each person can interpret each layer in a different way, but those are the layers that are in the song, and the complete interpretation might demand all of them. In the next video, I'll talk more about this process of analyzing lyrics with more detail, but using this song as a guide, okay? Locomotive breath and its interpretations are going to be the examples I'm going to use, okay?